Today, our Cleveland Browns are headed to the Burgh as we're set to face off against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3-1 with their new quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. The Browns currently sitting at 0-5. Obviously, the season has not gone great for us. We're hoping maybe we can turn it around today. We've got our very first prospect profile of the year. We're going to be going over the quarterbacks in this year's draft class. It's a really strong group of QBs this year, especially helpful given that our team, at the very least, will certainly be looking and monitoring these quarterbacks, and maybe one of these guys ends up being selected by the Browns. Who knows? Obviously, this season hasn't really gone how we would hope in terms of the win column, but if we look at the first 5 games of the year, the deficit in each game has gotten closer and closer. We've made a lot of progress. We should have beaten Minnesota in London last week. We were up by multiple scores at the half, but we kind of fell off in the second half. Joe Flacco, of course, got injured, thrusting Shedeur Sanders in. In the 2 drives he played in the first half, he led touchdowns for each of them, but then we only scored 3 points after that in the second half, and his play really slowed down. Is the first half of Shedeur Sanders, where he was fully in command of the offense, the guy that we're going to get at that position, or was that a fluke, and did the Vikings quickly figure him out? As I mentioned earlier, I think this is a really good quarterback class, and I think when we look back at the end of this series, after we get through 5, 6, 7, however many drafts, this is going to be one of, if not the strongest QB class we've had in this series. And with us currently projected to have a top pick, I mean, we have a real chance to potentially select one of these guys at the top of the first round. Obviously, we've got to go over the players we currently have at the position and try to figure out if we have potentially a long-term starter on the roster. Obviously, it is not going to be Joe Flacco, given the fact that he is 40 years old. It is also not going to be Deshaun Watson for more reasons than one. Of course, we have the 2 rookies, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, and the jury is certainly out on them. But the hit rate for quarterbacks drafted outside of the first couple of rounds is not high, especially when you consider that Gabriel had the injury in training camp that already had him fall behind, and his lack of physical tools certainly are not ideal either. With Shedeur Sanders, he certainly has exceeded the expectations of the average 5th-round pick so far. Had a good spring training, played reasonably well against Minnesota, but is he the long-term starter? I don't know. And if we end up with a top pick and have a chance to pick one of these elite quarterback prospects, a guy like Shedeur Sanders probably would not stop us from picking a guy we really like. There are, of course, a number of teams in the NFL interested in potentially adding a quarterback in this year's draft. We've got 2 first-rounders, though, currently projected at 2 and 28. The Jaguars have been quite good so far this year at 4-1. We need them to start losing some more games. As we look at the standings and some teams who could potentially inquire at the position, right now there's 3 teams that are currently 0-5. Usually, the lower you are in the standings, the worse the quarterback situation is. The Saints are certainly going to look at a quarterback. We may very well, and then I don't think this team will. The Chiefs at 0-5 is kind of crazy, but New Orleans I think will. Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler have both played this year. Neither have been great. We'll certainly consider it. The Jets will be in the QB market. Carolina at this point might be. The Colts will probably be interested. And then even teams who are doing well, like the Raiders and the Steelers, who have older starters and are looking for younger replacements. We also have potentially surprise teams. I would throw Arizona's hat in the ring. I would throw Seattle's hat in the ring. Maybe even the Dolphins as well. We've seen surprise teams pick quarterbacks in the first round before. Michael Penix with Atlanta in 2024. Jordan Love with the Packers in 2020. All it takes is for one team to fall in love with a guy and ultimately shock the world and draft them. And I think especially with this class, what I like about this group is the amount of experience that these guys at the top have. Kieran Riddle, 4-year starter. Granted, missed some time with injury. Brennan Holloway, 4-year starter. Zarius Stone, 4-year starter. Tempe Chesney, 4-year starter. Isaiah Timpf, 4-year starter. These guys have played a lot of football. Clyde Poole, of course, as we know, is a 4-year starter. Many of the most successful young quarterbacks that we've seen enter the NFL recently are successful because they have so much collegiate experience. Jaden Daniels at Arizona State and LSU played a lot of football, and I think one of the biggest reasons why he looked like a 10-year veteran out there as a rookie, making less mistakes than most polished starters, is because of all the college football that he's played. Cam Ward this year, 5-year starter at 3 different schools. Now, I think there's going to be more ups and downs with Cam Ward's rookie season compared to Jaden Daniels, But I think that's more so because Cam Ward just has more of a reckless Baker Mayfield style of play, in the sense that naturally there's going to be those hero ball moments. But I think Ward's collegiate experience at multiple different schools, multiple different systems, multiple different levels of play, I think that's going to really help him out early on, and he'll be farther ahead of his peers who have played less. Examples of some of the most recent busts over the last few years include Trey Lance. A big reason why he failed is because of his lack of experience. Missed that entire 2020 season at North Dakota State. The jury is still out on Anthony Richardson. He hasn't played a lot in the NFL, but that's the problem. Limited NFL reps, limited college reps, even limited high school reps. The reason why Richardson and Lance have struggled is because they don't have a lot of experience. So all of these top guys are going to be ahead of many other young quarterbacks because they've played so much football. We'll start with Kieran Riddle, the projected number 1 pick currently out of the University of Alabama. I don't think he's a lock to go number 1 by any stretch, but right now I think he is the slight favorite. I think teams are instantly going to see the physicals that he brings to the table and really like them. 6'4", 215, rocket arm, impressive mobility. He checks off all the boxes physically that teams look for in an NFL quarterback. He can stand in the pocket and make plays. He can scramble around and improvise a little bit. I wish he was a little more consistent under pressure. I think he kind of needs a good situation and a good offensive line to really be successful, more so than some of the other quarterbacks at the top of this draft. But I think with the physical tools, his ceiling is ultimately a little bit higher than some of the others because of that. Riddle started his collegiate career at Virginia Tech, a former 3-star recruit who was thrusted into the starting job as a true freshman. Maybe that was not the best thing for him, because those first couple of years, he really was not good. He looked anything but a future NFL draft pick at all, let alone the number 1 overall pick. Not to mention, he missed valuable playing time as a sophomore and junior due to injuries. He entered the transfer portal, goes to Alabama, and the change of scenery has turned him into a completely different player. 74% completion percentage. He's been the most accurate quarterback in the country this year. He's not turning the ball over. He's making plays with his legs. And when you look at the production profile this year with the Crimson Tide, along with the physicals and the measurables, that screams first rounder. He was probably a 4th or 5th round guy at best going into the year, but his stock has skyrocketed in this Alabama system. Is this year a fluke, or is Kieran Riddle the real deal? Right next to him, you got Brendan Holloway from Notre Dame, also listed as a field general. Holloway is in his 4th year as a starter for the Fighting Irish. He's tall but slim, 6'5", so he's got the stature. He's not the thickest, though. He weighs under 200 pounds. You'd like to see him add some weight. He's not necessarily some freak athlete. He doesn't have the elite tools or elite quickness, but I love his savviness as a runner. And if he had, Kyler Murray's athleticism, he would be the best rushing quarterback maybe ever as a prospect, other than probably Lamar Jackson. He knows how to pick his spot as a runner. He is good under pressure. He is calm. He is poised. He is accurate. The issue with Holloway during his first 3 seasons with the Fighting Irish was the turnovers. Double-digit interceptions in his first 3 seasons at Notre Dame, but this year he's really cleaned that up. A big reason why NFL scouts are in on him going in the first round. He's been picked off only 6 times this year while completing 70% of his throws. I think of these top guys, the floor for Holloway is really solid. Maybe he doesn't have, the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes physical tools, but I think there's easily an avenue where a guy like him ends up being a really, really good starter in this league. And there's a reason why he certainly is a case to be the number 1 pick. And then the third member of the big 3 is Zarius Stone from Ole Miss. He's a little bit older than the other guys here. He'll be 24 as a rookie, which is a little bit of a concern for some, but I don't think draft age is that important for quarterbacks. If anything, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be the older guy. He's played a lot of football. He is wise beyond his years, and I think he's the most likely to have a Jaden Daniels-esque impact in the sense that you watch him as an NFL rookie and you think, wow, it looks like this guy's been processing NFL defenses for the last 10 years. Stone has impressive physicals. He's big, 6'2", 215 pounds. He's thick, he's physical, he's a good runner, and he's really fast, but he's also got a rocket of an arm. This guy's played more football than anybody in the class. He has started over 4 years' worth of games. He had a little bit of playing time during his redshirt season in 2021 at the University of North Carolina. was the starter for the Tar Heels over the next 2 years, where he was pretty good. Transfers to Ole Miss, where he has really elevated his game. He's been phenomenal this year, and what I admire most about him is the consistency on a play-by-play basis. There are pretty much no negative plays with him. He's only thrown 2 interceptions and has been sacked only 4 times all year. So the highs are going to be there with Stone, but there aren't a whole lot of head-scratching plays. And sure, the offensive line deserves a lot, if not most of the credit for him only being sacked 4 times, but it speaks to his ability to navigate the pocket and make plays under pressure. There are certainly cases for any of these 3 players to be the number 1 overall pick, and I think if you ask evaluators around the league, the opinions are going to be pretty split. I could see 33% for Riddle, 33% for Holloway, 33% for Stone. I mean, there's an argument for any one of these guys, and as of right now, I don't know if there's a wrong answer for QB1 in this draft. Currently, there's one other quarterback projected to go in the first round, and that is Tempe Chesney out of Arizona State, a guy who's had a phenomenal season with the Sun Devils, another player who was not a very highly regarded high school recruit. He spent his first 2 seasons as a starter at Northern Arizona, an FCS school, where he was really solid. Transfers up to Arizona State during his redshirt junior season. Now as a redshirt senior, he's really elevated his game. He's athletic, he's certainly an improviser, makes plays under pressure, but he's accurate, consistent, and doesn't really turn the ball over, leading one of the top offenses in the nation. The Sun Devils currently undefeated at 10-0, likely headed to the college football playoff. And I think it's likely that all 4 of our top projected quarterbacks will make the playoff, which is really exciting that we'll get to see all of these guys live and in action. Chesney is 6'4", 183 pounds. He is tall but skinny. Physically, honestly, I see a lot of similarities to Puma Whitlock, who was also tall and lanky. Puma, obviously, now the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and if there's anyone who would have the best chance of, developing a guy like Tempe Chesney, it would be Puma Whitlock. I think that's partially why the most recent mock draft had him going to the Browns, although it's a little bit odd they had us picking both him and Stone. I don't know about 2 quarterbacks in the first round. I guess it doubles the chance of us getting a good one, but still kind of silly. Nonetheless, I think Tempe Chesney's a really good player, and I'm excited to see more of him this year at Arizona State. And I think as he continues to play, it becomes increasingly likely that he will go in the first round. He's a really good runner, even though the athletic traits, at least with his lower body, are not necessarily elite. Kind of like Brendan Holloway. It's weird. You can argue him and Holloway are 2 of the better rushing quarterbacks in the class, but they're also 2 of the slower ones. Let's look at the day 2 crop. Kind of an awkward spot for quarterbacks, because if you're good enough to be a franchise QB prospect, you're going in the first round. If not, it's like, why use a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a QB? So I'm curious to see where NFL evaluators lie on these guys. We'll start with Isaiah Timpf from Stanford, who going into the year was one of the guys I felt like was going to go in the first round, and that could still end up being the case. He definitely hasn't been bad this year. I would say he's been quite good. He's just been overshadowed and passed by guys like Kieran Riddle and Brendan Holloway, who were not projected to go in the first round coming into the year. Timpf is a lefty, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's not the biggest, but he's not undersized by any means. The athleticism, though, is really fun. He is a freak of nature. Dynamic as a runner, and he's got arguably the strongest arm of any quarterback in this year's draft. So even though physically he doesn't look the part athletically as much as, say, Kieran Riddle does at 6'4", 215, Timpf's got, again, a cannon of an arm, and he is really, really fast. 4-year starter at Stanford, a lot of ups and downs. What you're noticing with a lot of these quarterbacks who have played a lot of football is that oftentimes the first couple of years are not always pretty, but the improvements that he's made, the improvements that some of the other guys in this class have made, that's why NFL teams really like them. And over the last 2 years, Timpf has been really, really good for a Stanford program who has been resurrected. They were not good before he got there, and even the first couple of years, he was there. Then we get to Tyree Wells of SMU, who is currently a redshirt junior. He's the only underclassman quarterback I currently have in the draft. Everybody else here is a senior, so they will be out of eligibility at the end of the year. But Wells theoretically could go back to SMU, which honestly I think would kind of make sense for him, given that I think next year's QB crop is going to be worse. I think he has a better chance of going in the first round if he decides to stay at school. Wells has engineered arguably the best offense in America this year. His first season as a starter was last year at Colorado, where he only completed around half of his passes. Despite that, the flashes were obvious. His ability to progress through his reads and avoid turnovers was really impressive with the Buffaloes, but it was just about adding consistency with his accuracy. Goes to SMU, and that has certainly been the case. I think the reason why he's currently projected, though, in the third round is because he isn't necessarily great out of structure just yet. I think he's better in the pocket, more of an old-school pocket passing type. Not that he isn't athletic, per se, on the ground. He's got a cannon of an arm, and the accuracy, as I mentioned, has really improved from last year to this year, combined with being one of the best processing quarterbacks in this year's draft. Now, I think if he stays at school, he would be one of the 2 or 3 top guys in next year's class. But I think compared to some of the other players who we're going to look at for next season, I feel like they have a little more to prove compared to Tyree Wells. And I think we kind of know what he is as a prospect, which is a darn good one, and a guy who certainly could end up going earlier than this. Then there's Wambali Mendoza, who along with Tim, I kind of saw as a projected first-rounder going into the year. Early in the season, Mendoza really disappointed me, but I think he's really started to catch his stride, and he may very well plop himself back into first-round discussion. Mendoza was a small school guy, started the last 2 years at Ball State, where he was one of the best offensive players in the MAC. Transfers up to Ohio State, and the question is he good enough to play in the Big Ten? And early on, I wasn't really sure. The accuracy with him was really inconsistent early in the season, but he has steadily improved as time has gone on. Granted, Ohio State's a good situation. Their number 1 receiver, TK Dicer, I think will be a top 10 pick, and they've got plenty of other future NFL guys on this offense. But I think Mendoza's archetype is one that can really last in the NFL. 6'2", 200 pounds. He is a gunslinger. He is not afraid to send throws into tight windows, a big reason why the accuracy is not great. Oftentimes, when you look at a gunslinging player like him, this is someone who doesn't go through progressions, who can't read a defense. Wrong. Mendoza has thrown 1 interception this year. He leads all of college football in touchdowns currently with 39, but he's dead last among starters in interceptions. 39-1. That is pretty darn good, and I think with a good playoff run, there's a world where he potentially brings his name back into the first round of this year's draft, and I could easily see him getting drafted a lot higher than 85. After Mendoza, I think there's a big tier gap. Aiden Sehorn of Mississippi State, a little bit disappointing this year. He was a Heisman contender going into the season. Hasn't really, happened, but I still think he'll be a 4th or 5th rounder. Then we get to Clyde Poole, who is really fascinating, and ever since we started him as a true freshman at the University of Kansas, I wondered, would his skill set translate to the NFL level? This guy's 5'10", less than 200 pounds, so already he's very undersized. His play style is very unorthodox. He's a phenomenal rushing quarterback with nearly 4,000 career rushing yards and a guy who is easily faster and more athletic than anyone on the field. Part of the reason why he transferred to Virginia Tech was to show teams that he's more of a pocket passer. We quickly learned earlier in the year that's just not his game. We've let Clyde Poole play a little bit more freely over the last couple of weeks, and it has correlated with some of the best passing games of his entire career. The accuracy definitely is not on the level as many of these top quarterbacks. The arm strength has always been really good with him, but now that we're comparing him to NFL players, I think his arm talent is a lot more average. Obviously, him being undersized is a concern as well, but he is just such a weapon moving around under pressure. Yeah, there are going to be the negative plays with him. Sometimes he takes a stupid sack, but his ability to navigate through pressure and turn what should be a sack or a throwaway into a 30-yard run is something that other quarterbacks just cannot do. He is extremely unique in that sense, and as I mentioned earlier, he's played the best football of his career as a passer over the last few games. He's been dealing with nagging injuries, though, over the last few weeks at Virginia Tech. Strange that he's playing at his best while hurt. On one hand, will his body last for the NFL? Given his size, I don't know. But on the other hand, it's clear he's got that dog in him. Another thing with Clyde Poole to potentially keep an eye on is if he doesn't end up translating at quarterback, I think he's got the athleticism and skill set to potentially play other positions. He has made it clear he wants to be a quarterback at the next level, but I'm curious to see how an innovative offensive coordinator would ultimately choose to use him. Behind Clydepool, you've got some other intriguing small school guys. Fatsani Elias from North Texas. He's had a good season in an American Athletic Conference that's been really impressive this year. Micah Humble, 5'10", 220, got off to a great start at NC State. Has slowed down a little bit since. Landon Dorsey from Kent State. He's played a lot of football. College football's active leader in passing yards. He is 25 years old, though. Jonathan Diaz, leading one of the top offenses in the nation at Oklahoma State. He's really undersized, though, and I don't think he has the athleticism to make up for it. Salen Wooten from Penn State. He's your prototypical game manager. Doesn't make the flashy plays, but he's done a good job leading a strong Penn State offense. The problem is he just doesn't really have an NFL arm. Antoine Easy of Nebraska, kind of in the same boat. He's led a really, really good team, but his arm talent just isn't really NFL caliber. In terms of some other college names to watch out for the future, Nick Eberle from Clemson, the redshirt freshman, former 5-star, definitely a guy who could be a first-rounder next year. The numbers don't pop off the page, but he's been really good this season, and I definitely could see a big leap from him from his freshman year to his sophomore season. If Hoppy Reynolds was 6'3", he would be one of the first-rounders in this class. The problem is he's not. He's 5'11", 185. He's really small. 3 impressive seasons as a starter. 1 at Florida, 2 at Georgia. The Bulldogs, of course, ranked number 1. The size is a big concern, though, and I think he's probably going to stay at school for his senior year. Colin Westwood from Texas Tech, he's been very impressive this season. The accuracy needs a lot of work, though, and I think because of that, he probably will not declare this year. I do see him as one of the top projected guys going into next season as a redshirt senior. Carson Mayfield has been phenomenal this year, 6'5", 225. I think he needs to be getting more Heisman buzz. His physicals are fine. They're not elite. He is not a great arm, but otherwise, he checks off the boxes. Was fantastic as a true freshman, struggled as a sophomore, and then got injured. As a redshirt sophomore, he's been unbelievable. He's been as good as guys like Riddle and Holloway and Stone. I just don't think his athleticism is as exciting as those guys. Kamari Fisher has been at a few different stops, but it seems like he's really found a home at Tennessee. I don't think the arm talent is exceptional with him either. So because of that, I think he probably sticks around at Tennessee next year. Started some games at UConn in 2033. Played at Incarnate Word in the FCS last year. Was one of the best players at the FCS level. And then this year at Tennessee, he's been really good. Julian Hero, first place for the Heisman. I don't think he should be in first, but he's having a great year. He does not have an NFL arm at all. His throw power is 81 in the college game, which in Madden is probably going to be lower than that. He's had a really good year, though. I don't want to completely forget about him. Josh Scarborough from the University of South Florida, he's also had a great year. The numbers with him are ridiculous. He also does not necessarily have an elite arm, however, and I don't think his skill set translates that well to the NFL. And then, in my opinion, the biggest wild card at the quarterback position right now in college football is Oklahoma's Wyatt Cruz. The redshirt junior is a freak. He might be the most athletic quarterback in the country. Going into the year, I said there's a shot he's the number 1 pick. Well, he hasn't played at that level, but he's turned a corner over the last month or so and has really looked like a guy who could go in the first round. And if he keeps this up the rest of the year, I could see him declaring for this year's draft and being a pretty high pick. I could certainly see him going into next year as a projected first rounder to start the year. He's been awesome against some good teams. They beat Ole Miss. That's the Rebels' only loss this year. They barely lost to Tennessee, who's number 5. Wyatt Cruz is playing some great ball, and he is really starting to rebuild his stock a little bit.
Film rooms are the forum where strategies are discussed and victories are born. Each person there has a voice and a chance to step forward with what they believe is the key to this week's game.
As we move on to our Week 6 game against the Steelers, what should be the goal in terms of film? Quarterback is the most important position in the game. We need our safeties reading the progression. We don't need to worry about getting beat. Instead, we need to capitalize on mistakes. So basically, have the safeties be risky and gambling and coverage. I don't think that's a good idea. I want to focus on the trenches. The Steelers have a young and up-and-coming offensive line. Their defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Apparently, the general manager didn't really like that answer, which is weird. Maybe the players will have a different reaction as we tell them that we need to out-Steeler the Steelers. Shelby Harris talks about how he's going to be doubled by the Steelers' offensive line. I can't be moved. About to be a problem. Shelby Harris is the one saying this. He thinks he's the guy who's creating opportunities for others. What? Do we not have Myles Garrett with 7 sacks on our team and Mason Graham with 4.5? The rest of the team through 5 games has 1 sack. Shelby Harris has 2 tackles. Who does he think he is? Talking up a storm. I don't know. All right, let's look at the Steelers, who are 3-1. They've been the Steelers this year. I think that's the best way to describe it. Their wins are not pretty, but they are winning games. They beat the Jets in Seattle early in the year, lost to New England, beat the Vikings in Dublin, and are coming off a bye week, which doesn't really bode well for us. They've had 2 weeks off, while we are jet-lagged coming back from London. Now, the Steelers are about to have a short week. They played the Bengals on Thursday Night Football in Week 7, so maybe they're looking a little bit past this game and towards their matchup against the Bengals. But as we look at this team, number 2 scoring defense, number 1 passing defense. Justin Fields was horrible against them. Sam Darnold was not good. Drake May was, to his credit. He's off to a really good start this year. And then in Week 4, J.J. McCarthy was also not very good. These guys have an elite defensive line, good linebackers, good secondary, obviously one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL with Mike Tomlin. This is not the environment you throw a young quarterback into. So because of that, Joe Flacco will be getting the start, not Shedeur Sanders. I know Shedeur showed some good things against Minnesota, and had we won the game and he played better in the second half, maybe it'd be a little bit different. But I think it would be reckless, and we would be doing him a disservice by having his first start against the Pittsburgh Steelers with guys like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Jalen Ramsey, Alex Highsmith, all on this defense. Now, what's interesting about this matchup is that Aaron Rodgers is not going to play. He is currently injured with bruised ribs, not a long-term injury. We'll probably see him later in the year, but he's not going to go. So Mason Rudolph will get the start, not Will Howard. I thought it would have been interesting if they threw him out there, but it will be Mason Rudolph. Myles Garrett might get about 8 sacks in this game. Caleb Johnson's become the RB1, although him and Jalen Warren are a nice little duo. The skills position room is not great, but DK Metcalf, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, all good players. The offense, though, especially with Mason Rudolph starting, is not all that scary. Because of that, though, I think this could be a low-scoring, ugly football game. I will mention, defensively, they will be without Jalen Ramsey. He's not going to go, but they still have a good corner room without him. Joey Porter Jr. on one side, Darius Slay on the other. They will be fine defensively, and the key for them is winning up front with arguably the best edge rushing duo in the NFL, Cameron Hayward in the middle, along with guys like Keanu Benton and the first-round rookie Derek Harmon. Let's see if we can out-Steeler the Steelers by trying to play their brand of football and be more physical up front. First down at the 29. RPO. Yikes. That throw is not even close. This might be a long day if you like offense. Second and 10 now at the 29 for the Steelers. Warren in the backfield. He gets it up the middle with room. Gets the first down and is wrapped up at the 44-yard line by Grant Delpit. A good run, though, for Jalen Warren, getting around 15. Caleb Johnson in the backfield on first down as Myles Garrett is in the backfield with a sack, already his 8th of the year. We know Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph do not like each other. So because of that, I have the feeling Myles Garrett's going to have a pretty big game matched up with the youngster at right tackle, Troy Fautanu, the former first-rounder of Washington. Second and 18, Rudolph steps up, scrambles, and is clobbered by Garrett. Has to throw it away. This game is personal for Myles Garrett. Within the first minute, he has a sack and another QB hit. Rudolph on third and long, he'll go short. Calvin Austin gets about half of the yardage to the first down marker. Good hit by Greg Newsome, who got the worst of that one. He's able to stop the Steelers from getting anything there on their opening drive. Browns with it for the first time, 3rd and 9. Flacco hit as he throws, misfires for David Njoku. We've got to get Njoku going early. He had a rough episode last go-around. Missed Week 3 against the Packers, and then was dropped to miss prime against Detroit and then Minnesota. At the 29, Johnson bounces off a blocker and is going to lose 2. Denzel Ward, the Warden, brings him down. We haven't seen the splash plays from Ward, but I think overall in coverage he's been quite good this year. Had a really good game last week against Justin Jefferson. Rudolph hit as he throws, connects with Pat Freiermuth to the 41. That was a great play. He knew he was going to get hit too, and he's still able to deliver the throw up the seam on the money. 3rd and 10 now. Rudolph hit as he throws again. It's Mason Graham, the rookie from Michigan, making the play. Field goal unit is now on the field. It's a 58-yarder for Chris Boswell, one of the best in the business. No good. He missed it. Wide to the right, and this game remains scoreless. And the Browns are going to have good starting field position off the missed kick by the All-Pro, Chris Boswell. So Cleveland has it at the 47-yard line, practically at midfield. 2nd and 11. Flacco looks to throw it up the middle. He's got Harold Fannin for the first down. Fannin's got good hands. He's just got to be able to get open. I don't think he can run an NFL route tree yet. Jerome Ford pushed back for a loss of 4. Derek Harmon, first-round draft pick from the University of Oregon. Ducks brings him down. 3rd and 5. Flacco goes short. It's David Njoku with the first down, and he gets Cleveland into the red zone at the 22-yard line. Good drive here from the Browns. We haven't seen a lot of big plays, but Cleveland is moving it very efficiently, slowly but surely down the field. First down from the 22. Flacco picked off! Big play, Slay! Grabs it for the Steelers, and the Browns are held off the board. Darius Slay, one of the top ball-hawking corners of the last decade. Unk still got it. Steelers back on offense. Johnson loses a yard. Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger, the Browns' top 2 draft picks and 2 likely contenders for the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Those guys have both been awesome. That'll wrap up the first. Scoreless here in Pittsburgh. I told you it was going to be low scoring. It was going to be ugly. I'm impressed with our defense so far. Keep in mind, this is the 32nd ranked scoring defense in the NFL. We've allowed more points than any team up to this point. Granted, we've played against some really good offenses and some really good quarterbacks so far. This QB, not so much, as he connects for the first down to the 34-yard line. It's DK Metcalf who's able to haul it in. Always a very talented player in Seattle, but the question with DK was always the consistency. Play action, Myles Garrett in the backfield forces a loss of 10. His 2nd sack of the game, already at 9 on the year. It has been certainly a Defensive Player of the Year caliber start for Myles Garrett. 2nd and 20, there he is again! 3rd sack of the game for Myles Garrett. And we're just a minute into the 2nd quarter. He's at double digits on the year. That's 10. We're a third of the way through the year. He's on pace for 30. 3rd and 27. Rudolph's going to go up the middle, and it's incomplete. Another stalled possession for the Steelers. Myles Garrett has been a wrecking crew, and the Browns' defensive line has been fantastic. Problem is our offense has gotten nothing. Judkins on 3rd and 2 gets maybe a yard. Alex Highsmith and friends bring him down. 4th and 1 at the opposing 48. We're going to go for it. We have not been good in 4th and short situations. So we're going to change it up with the play calling and let Joe Flacco get the first down as the QB sneak is successful and the drive continues for the Browns. We have not been able to run the ball at all today, though. They certainly have been dominant on the defensive line, which we knew was likely. Play action. Flacco fumbles! Picked up by the defense. It's TJ Watt, who's tripped up at the 35 by Cornelius Lucas. Alex Highsmith with the strip sack. And Flacco turns it over for the 2nd time in the first half. An interception and a fumble today for Joe Flacco, who has not been very good, playing against a team who he is quite familiar with in the Steelers. Pittsburgh has it back with great field position. Will this be where we finally see some points? As Caleb Johnson gets it to the 24. Definitely some similarities between him and Najee Harris's game. It's easy to see why the Steelers liked him, and late 3rd round is a lot better than the 1st round investment they used on Harris. Spin move, Jaylen Warren to the 3. Warren was a good complement under Najee Harris and oftentimes was better than Harris, and I think it'll be a similar dynamic with him and Caleb Johnson as Warren is pushed into the end zone for a touchdown. Took us a quarter and a half, but we finally got points. Granted, the Steelers scored because they started at their opposing 35, but still, points are points, especially in a game where there might not be a lot. They'll take everything they can get. Jerome Ford loses yardage. It's Harmon again. Dominant year last season at Oregon. Transfer from Michigan State. As it's 3rd and 10 at the 20. Flacco under pressure off the blitz. Nowhere to go. Incomplete. Cole Holcomb with the pressure. And the Steelers get it back with a chance to add to the lead. With around 3 minutes left in the first half, 2nd and 9, Mason Rudolph under pressure. He is sacked. Mike Hall Jr. gets home. I believe that was Isaiah McGuire with him. Mason Graham also sending pressure. What a rookie season it has been for that young man. Certainly worth the 5th overall pick and then some thus far. 3rd and 16. Rudolph has to throw it away. Nearly sacked for what would have been, I believe, a 5th time here in the first half. Mike Hall sending more pressure. So the Browns have it back. Minute 20 to go. That one is caught by Tillman. Could have been intercepted by Slay. Would have been his 2nd of the game. That was not a great decision by Joe Flacco. He had Judy open on the crossing route up the middle. But it worked. 3rd and 5. Flacco steps up, scrambles. He's going to tuck it and run and gets the first down. Joe Flacco's trying to run around a little bit. I think he had like 6 rushing yards all year coming into the game. Zach Zinner, the backup left guard, is hurt. That's not ideal because the starter, Joel Bitonio, already got injured. There's Thrash pushed backwards, and he's in for a score. Jabari Thrash, 2nd consecutive week with a touchdown, and the Browns tie it with 27 seconds in the half. Good job there by Flacco, absorbing the hit from the former Defensive Player of the Year, T.J. Watt. Still connects with Thrash anyway, and we are knotted up late in the first half. Are the Steelers going to try and score, perchance? They've got 23 seconds left. I'm curious to see if they're aggressive. Rudolph on first down as an open man up the middle, and that's going to get them to the 43-yard line. They're going to use a timeout. Good play there by Pittsburgh. Now a 2nd and 6 at the 48 with just 12 seconds to go. One timeout. Rudolph up the middle. Austin with a big hit from Jerome Baker, who had 19 tackles a week ago against Minnesota. And with 9 seconds and no timeouts, they're just going to try to kick the field goal. It's a long one, a 61-yarder for Boswell. He missed from 58 earlier in the game. Isaiah Bond back deep to return if necessary, as the kick is up, and it is no good. Wide right, and this game remains tied at 7 with just a few seconds left in the half. Now, the Browns had the ball past midfield. With 5 seconds and 1 timeout, I think we can get a little bit creative, and I have a master plan that might work. Short throw, Judy gets 4. I was hoping for a little more, but the idea was a quick play, out of bounds, and then go for the field goal. Yeah, it's a 63-yarder. I don't know if Hopkins has the leg, but it's worth a shot. 63-yarder, Dustin Hopkins. It is no good. Wide to the left, almost had the distance. Honestly, I'm surprised that it went that far, but his kick is no good. Both teams with field goal misses in the final seconds of the first half, as this one is tied at 7. Low scoring, defensive, ugly AFC North football as we take a look at our halftime report across the rest of the NFL. Denver and the Jets playing against each other across the pond, I believe, in London earlier today. We want these bad teams near us in the standings winning games. So the Jets scoring 35 is certainly nice with this big run by Breece Hall leading the upset over the Broncos. Justin Fields played well early, then got injured. Tyrod Taylor came in to replace him, did well enough to win the game. Eagles and Giants on Thursday night. The Giants have been one of the biggest surprises in the league, and a big reason for that has been the play of Jackson Dart, who surprisingly won the starting job and has been really good. He did not play in this game due to an injury, and, well, the Giants really faltered. Also doesn't help that Devontae Smith made ridiculous catches like that one. The Eagles win 31-6. Cowboys and Panthers. Once again, we want some of these possibly QB-needy teams like Carolina to win games. Although the way Bryce Young has played in the first half, do they really need a quarterback? I don't know. Tetairoa McMillan as well with an insane hurdle, a broken tackle, and he's gone. The highlights that the game shows in these halftime reports are hilarious because I did not know Tet McMillan had that in his bag whatsoever. It looks like rookie difficulty. As we take a look at some other scores, the Jaguars are losing to Seattle 7-3. Seahawks, I'm going to need you to keep it going. We want that pick to be good. As for this game, it has not been pretty. Flacco's turned the ball over twice. Otherwise, he really hasn't been that bad. But both offenses have been rough. Although, we're coming off a nice touchdown drive late in the first half as Quinshon Judkins loses a few. Good stop there by the Steelers. I believe that is Beanie Bishop Jr. 3rd and 13. Flacco scrambles with room to the left. Come on, Joe, outrun him! You got it, Joe! You got it, Joe! Joe Flacco with the first down. We have ran the ball horribly today, with the exception of Flacco, who has over half of our team's rushing yards. Quinshon Judkins, meanwhile, 5 carries, 0 yards as he's wrapped up by Peyton Wilson. The offensive line has not done him any favors, but the early return on Judkins has not been good through 6 weeks. Flacco overthrows Njoku, incomplete. Good defense by the Steelers. Chuck Clark in coverage. And Pittsburgh gets it back. 3rd and 3 at the 31. Here's a throw from Rudolph down the field, broken away. by Greg Newsome, who unfortunately tore his labrum on that play. Really good job in coverage by Newsome, but not ideal. He suffers a multi-week injury. Jerome Ford pummeled to the ground by Cameron Hayward, the long-standing veteran who seems like he may never age. 3rd and 11. Flacco surveys the field under pressure. Ooh, look at the spin! Avoiding the sack as he throws it away. So far here in the third quarter, it has been much of the same. Offense never mattered. Pittsburgh has it back at the 22. A pitch to the outside. Caleb Johnson with a nice block. Johnson gets kind of another block, then spins out of traffic and gets it to the 43. A gain of 21. The rookie out of Iowa. I'm surprised he fell to the 3rd round. I always saw him as kind of a 2nd round guy. Kind of in the range of Quinshon Judkins, who went like 50 picks earlier. As that one is caught by DK Metcalf to the 42. Risky throw. Carson Schlesinger nearly made a play on that ball. Steelers are getting something going here on this drive as Johnson bounces off a blocker, breaks the tackle. Look at him go! Physical running. Caleb Johnson to the 31. In the red zone now, 2nd and 1. Steelers looking to regain the lead. Johnson gets it back and is tossed to the ground like a rag doll by Myles Garrett, continuing his exceptional game. 3rd down and 4 now at the 14. A little under 2.5 in the 3rd. Rudolph under pressure. It's Carson Schlesinger with the sack. That was a risky play by Schlesinger because his responsibility was to cover Jalen Warren and man, and there was not a safety near Warren. However, the gamble paid off because Schlesinger knew he was going to make it in the backfield within about half a second, probably too quickly for Rudolph to make a decision, which ultimately is exactly how it played out. 36-yard field goal for Boswell is good, and the Steelers regain the lead 10-7 late in the 3rd quarter. Browns get it back. Cleveland is not led yet in this game. 2:08 to go in the 3rd, starting at the 28 here on 1st down. We got to establish something on the ground. Jerome Ford gets maybe 4. That's honestly a good run for our standards. Even just more of that, please. More 4-yard gains. Flacco on the run, cannot connect with Ford, who was open. Seems like there was some miscommunication, though, with the route. And the offensive struggles continue. Pittsburgh has it back. Play action. Rudolph up the middle for Freiermuth. Schlesinger gambled again, and this time, well, he put it all on red, and he did not win. That'll wrap up the 3rd. 10-7, the Steelers with the lead. Another very low-scoring quarter. This game really has been ugly. It has been a slugfest. But you know what? This has been a fun game to watch. I can appreciate good defense, good trench play, good defensive line play. Both of these D-lines have been ridiculous. 3rd and 5. Rudolph hit as he throws. It is caught! Metcalf over top of Asante Samuel Jr. with the 1st down, despite the pocket collapsing and a lot of pressure from the defensive line, specifically Myles Garrett. 2nd and 10. Rudolph, clean pocket now, goes short. Another nice catch by Metcalf, making some highlight plays on this drive. I saw Mason got injured, and I was excited. Was it Mason Rudolph? Well, there were 2 Masons who got hurt. None of them were Mason Rudolph. Mason McCormick for the Steelers. Mason Graham for us. That would be a big loss. 1st and goal now at the 3. Rudolph looks to throw it under pressure. He is sacked. Malik Collins is there. Isaiah McGuire joins him as well. I think that's 6, 7 sacks now today for the Browns. 3rd and goal at the 7. Rudolph looks to throw it. Dances around. He's sacked again. 8. Joe Tryon Shoyinka leads the way. I think Graham was there. I think Myles Garrett was there. This pass rush has been relentless. Field goal unit on. 28-yarder for Boswell is good, and the lead is up to 6 for the Steelers. As good as our pass rush has been, and we're putting up the big numbers there, the Steelers' defensive line has been just as dominant stopping the run. We have not been able to get anything going on the ground. Flacco's only been sacked once, but that's more so because he's done a good job under pressure, not because the offensive line has given him time. Good run there by Ford. He gets 11. Definitely more of that, please. The offensive line let him part the Red Sea. 3rd and 7. David Njoku cannot quite outrun Slay. Gain of 6. That'll make it a 4th and 1. I think we're far enough into this game to where we can go for it. It's 4th and a long one, though. Really 4th and like 1.5. Thought about calling an audible, but we're going to stick with the initial play call. Let Joe cook. QB sneak, he got it. Good job there by Flacco to basically hump the center long enough to where he wasn't on the ground until he was past the 1st down marker. Savvy play. by the 40-year-old. I'm excited for when Flacco, or if Flacco plays against Aaron Rodgers later in the year, because that might be the oldest starting quarterback matchup ever. He's got Jabari thrashed to the 30, and all of a sudden, the Browns' offense is in business. We're moving it a little bit. Haven't scored since the end of the first half, but all we need is a touchdown to take the lead. From the 30, a little over 4 to go. Dylan Sampson thought he had room to the outside, but it turns out he does not. Justin Shorter, the new tight end, was unable to hold his block. 2nd and 11. Flacco looks to throw it up the middle. Oh, that could have been picked! Wow, that was right in his hands. Instead of an interception, it's a defensive pass interference. The pick would not have counted because there was a lot of contact on the route. Joey Porter Jr. It's an automatic first down for the Browns, who have it at the 13. 3rd and 8 now, 2.5 minutes to go. Flacco looks to throw it, goes short. Sampson, I was hoping he would have more room to the outside. He only gets 2. That'll make it a 4th and 6, and the offense is going to go for it. We're going to try to get it off before the 2-minute warning. Flacco and Sampson in the backfield. Flacco up the middle, it's caught! Big first down by Jabari Thrash. He's had a nice game. And Cleveland has it at the 5-yard line following the 2-minute warning. So now we're going to try to move slow. I mean, there's no reason to move quickly here. We don't want the Steelers to have too much time. 4, not quite. He's close. Cornelius Lucas is hurt. We have to call a timeout, and that stops the clock. Not ideal. We do have it at the 1, though, a yard away from taking the lead. 2nd and goal. Jerry Jeudy in motion. He gets the jet sweep. Finds the hole. He is in. Big booty Judge Jeudy puts the Browns on top with less than 2 minutes to go. A potentially game-winning drive by Joe Flacco. 15 plays, nearly 6 minutes long. The Steelers get it back here. 1:25 to go. 2nd and 9. Rudolph scrambles. Looking wide open. It's Metcalf. He's had a really good game, DK. Gets it to the 39, and that will stop the clock. All the Steelers need is a field goal to take the lead. They have Chris Boswell, who's really good. Granted, he's missed 2 kicks today. Metcalf gains 6. Denzel Ward appears to be shaken up, which means we have to use another timeout. And that stops the clock again for the Steelers. It's like we're giving them a timeout. 2nd and 4. Rudolph. Good throw to the 40. Hauled in by, I believe, Treylon Burks, who they added through free agency. At the 40. Rudolph under pressure. Wrapped up. Mason Graham gets home for the sack. 2nd and 11 now at the 41-yard line. Rudolph, Warren in the backfield. Not quite in field goal range yet, but they're close. Metcalf cannot hang on. Asante Samuel Jr. breaks up the pass. Down to 51 seconds and 1 timeout. 3rd and 11 for the Steelers. They're right on the fringe of field goal range. They just need a few more yards. Rudolph looking deep, one-on-one. Incomplete. Jerome Baker got a hand on it with Freiermuth, and it's decision time for the Steelers. They're going to trust their kicker. Boswell missed from 58 and 61 earlier in this game. Here it's from 58 for the lead with 45 seconds. The kick is no good. It's wide to the right. And the Browns are in position to win this game. Boswell's the 3rd miss of the afternoon. And if we play our cards correctly, the Steelers should not get the ball back. There's 41 seconds, and they have 1 timeout. We're not in victory formation yet. As Ford gets a few, we're going to have him dive down. Steelers use their last timeout. I don't see any chance they can win now that there's 38 seconds. We should be able to kneel the ball out twice and end the game. That's it. We've done it. The Browns have won their first game of the year, or have they? How do you get hurt on a kneel down? So that stops the clock. Not only does that mean we have to kneel it again, but imagine if there was another injury on this 3rd down play that caused the clock to stop. Then the Steelers would get the ball back. That seems a little bit unfair. Is Cameron Hayward faking an injury? He wasn't even engaged with a blocker. Flacco kneels. No injury this time. And that'll do it! The Cleveland Browns have won their first game of the year, 14-13 in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. It was ugly. It was nasty. But you know what? We beat the Steelers at their own game. I knew they were going to be physical. I knew we were going to have a hard time moving the ball. So the goal was to do the same. And that's a big ask for the 32nd ranked scoring defense. But we did. We had 200 yards of offense today. That's it. We could not run the ball whatsoever. The only guy who was effective on the ground was Joe Flacco. Our defensive line was just as good, though. I think we finished with 8 sacks, maybe 9. I don't know. I lost count. It was a lot. Joe Flacco did what he could, given the pressure. Still was not, impressive or anything. He didn't have a good game. But he did what he needed to, and that last drive, I'll give him credit, that was impressive. Mason Rudolph kind of in the same boat. He wasn't horrible. He didn't turn the ball over, but he also didn't do a good job with pressure. I thought the Steelers ran it well. Caleb Johnson was good in the second half. Jalen Warren was good the whole game. We did not run the ball well at all. The only guy who did was Joe Flacco, who led the team in rushing. Ford averaged less than 3 yards a carry. Sampson had less than 3. Junkins had less than 1. Through the air, Metcalf was good. Jamari Thrash was really impressive. He took some of Harold Fannon's reps out of the slot because I don't think Fannon's been that good. And Jamari Thrash was really impressive. Back-to-back weeks, that is. Both offensive lines were abysmal. Both defenses were awesome. 5 TFLs, 3 sacks for Garrett, 3 TFLs, sack and a half for Mason Graham. Those guys continue to lead the way in terms of the pass rush, but everybody else contributed. The Steelers' defensive line, though, was just as good, and they, of course, forced 2 turnovers. Another story was the kicking. 4 missed field goals. Boswell missed 3, and then Hopkins missed 1 from 63. So, unfortunately, we got some not-so-good news injury-wise. Greg Newsome, as I mentioned, tore his labrum. He'll probably be out at least through the bye week, maybe a little bit longer. I think Newsome's had a pretty good season. It's a big year for him. He's due for an extension. I think he's been pretty impressive, so not having him out there is not going to be ideal, and our cornerback depth, already being without Martin Emerson, is going to be tested. Asante Samuel Jr. will now be the starter, and we're probably going to see more Cam Mitchell and more Caleb Farley as well. As for our film room prep, what did I say going into the week? I want to win the game up front. I want to win the game in the trenches. The offensive line did not. They were horrible. But the defensive line certainly did. We won this game because of the defensive line. Myles Garrett, Mason Graham, winning their reps, and getting everybody else involved. The rest of the team was really impressive. And a big issue for us this year has been the complementary pass rush outside of those two. I don't know what the obsession with Shelby Harris is. I took the challenge personally. While it didn't show in the box score, I know my presence set my teammates up to win. Your presence did nothing, my friend. You had 1 tackle. Having Myles Garrett, maybe the best defensive player in the NFL, and Mason Graham, the favorite for the defensive rookie of the year, those guys made an impact. Not you, champ. I love the confidence, but we need a little more self-awareness. Let's take a look at some scores across the rest of the NFL in our weekly recap. We will start in Pittsburgh. The Browns winning their first game of the year against their division rival Steelers. This game is the epitome of ugly AFC North football. We won 14-13, winning the game on the defensive line. Myles Garrett was the best player on the field, 5 TFLs and 3 sacks. You know he does not like Mason Rudolph. That certainly showed in this one. The Browns up to 1-5. Steelers fall to 3-2. Rams-Ravens. A lot of the top quarterbacks have not been winning this year. Josh Allen and the Bills have started slow. Mahomes and the Chiefs are 0-5. Not the case in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson has his Ravens at 6-0 as they beat the Rams comfortably 31-10. Rough day in the office for Matthew Stafford. The Rams fall to 500 in a very competitive NFC West. And then the Chargers and the Dolphins, couple of 3-2 teams. Both squads here have been pretty solid so far, looking to make some noise in the AFC playoff picture. Ended up being a surprisingly low-scoring game in Miami, but the Chargers, with this big touchdown by Ladd McConkey, win it 17-15. The Dolphins will look to rebound next week. They are headed to Cleveland to face off against our Browns in week number 7. As for some other scores around the rest of the NFL, Sam Darnold laid an egg in the second half, and the Jaguars are now 5-1. Thanks a lot, Sammy. So the Jags have now won 5 in a row, playing some great ball. The Chiefs finally win their first game. Of course, they beat Detroit. I knew they were going to do that. Players of the week got a couple of rookies. Matthew Golden, 13 for 172. The Packers might finally have a wide receiver 1, along with Joe Burrow, Quinyon Mitchell, and Oluwafemi Oladejo at the Titans with 3 sacks. I've been telling you all, Oluwafemi Oladejo is that guy. Into week number 7. We're closer to the middle of the year. We are set to face off against the Dolphins in New England in the next couple of weeks. Both teams playing fairly well. Myles Garrett leads the NFL in sacks with 10. That is a lot. I think we're going to play 2 games in the next episode, make it up to the trade deadline, which should be interesting. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.